Alrighty. Good evening, morning, whatever the fuck it is. Howdy. Whatever. I have not been doing a whole lot of work on perspective this week. We're going to talk about perspective, of course, but I don't have a whole lot to talk about because I didn't prepare much of anything. Mostly what I did was beat myself up over not doing a very good job last week explaining the whole measuring point thing that I figured out. It just clicked for me and it made sense to me. And I was like, I'll explain it and then it'll make sense to you too. And I did a shitty job. And it probably still doesn't make sense to you. So I did not do a whole lot of reading on perspective. What I did do was work on this picture of a zombie pulling his own guts out. And I'm not sure how good a job I'm going to do on this picture when I get back to it. If I turn the flat color off, it looked pretty good as just like a sketch. And I was looking at it and going, all right, this is going to be cool. And then I did flat colors and it was like, this looks like dog shit. But yeah, that's what I was mostly working on this past week. And I played the winter DLC came out for Grand Theft Auto Online. And I really like Grand Theft Auto Online. And there's a new business, the Chop Shop, and I had to get that. I had to set that up. And there's a new weapon, the battle rifle. I had to get that. I had to set that up. It's dog shit. You don't want it. Like, don't waste your fucking time and money on the battle rifle. It's not worth getting, okay? It's not as good as the Service Carbine Mark II. And it's just the military rifle is better. So yeah, just stick with those and don't worry about it. Now, anyway, now what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna go, all right, background. We are going to grab ourselves a nice sort of mid-green color. Okay, there we go. And we're gonna go paint bucket. Bloop. And there we go. So we're going to put that in there. Oh, that's a bad idea. I should use a different hue. Let's use a kind of orangey color. Let's use something. There we go. Something like that. No, I don't. That not that. Something in a cooler hue, but let's do a kind of violet, maybe. Okay, there we go. We'll do eggplant. We'll do penis colored. So, so that's what we're going to begin with right there. Is we're going to just kind of throw that out there. And here, what I'm going to do is, I am going to come over here to the edit menu and change my canvas size. And I'm going to change my canvas size to 10,524. And I'm going to change it to 7440. And that is expanding it by 3 times the size. And then there we go. Now we've got our paper suspended in the middle. Okay, so what we're looking at now is we're looking at a much bigger field. And I can put my guides on here and I can show you kind of a lot of this perspective stuff that I've been kind of thinking about and working on. Not so much this week that I've been thinking about. I think I can do a better job of talking about the measuring point. So, yeah, I want to... I want to put... You know what? Let's start this a little bit different. I'm going to put the center of vision right here. Then we're going to come up here to edit. We're going to do our change canvas size. We're going to do the same thing. 524, 7440. Okay. And we'll zoom out. And we've got our center of vision now. And our center of vision is placed exactly in the center of the page. And this is kind of our single point vanishing point, because that's what we're looking at. And then I'm going to place the horizon all the way up at the top of the paper. And I'm going to place the station point all the way at the bottom of the paper, because I have found this convenient. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go move layer. And I'm going to go, hey, let's move this down. And I'm going to put my horizon where I want it on the paper, which typically you're going to want it either the top third right here or the bottom third right here. You'll hardly ever put it like right in the center. What you're going to end up doing is you'll put it right at the top third of the paper if most of what you're looking at is going to be on the ground, or you're going to put it down here on the bottom third of the paper if everything that you're looking at is going to be up in the sky. Now I'm going to put it right in the center, which is not where you would normally put it, but from here, I can come in here and I can go, all right, we're going to grab our ruler right here. We're going to grab a linear ruler. We're going to go from exactly here. We're going to hold down shift to get a true 45-degree angle. And that's going to be our measuring point. Right there. Now, we're going to zoom in, and you can see that I didn't do a very good job of putting these exactly where they need to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my object tool. Okay, up here on the toolbar, I'm going to use the object palette. I'm going to grab the object selector, and I'm going to grab that, and I'm just going to use the arrow keys to move it until it's as perfectly in the place where I want it as I can get it. And then we're going to grab this other one, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put it exactly where it belongs. There we go. We're going to switch back to our brush. We're going to zoom back out. And you can see now that I've got my two measuring points for single point perspective are placed. Okay, so let's come up here onto our notes layer. I'll move in and we'll say right here, small. We're going to say single point. That's our single point vanishing point right there. Okay? And then over here, we're going to have our measuring point. Turn off snapping. I wish there was a way to change that in setting. Now we're going to say this is our measuring point right here. And then we got to come over here and we got to go measuring point right here. So we've got our two measuring points in our single point perspective. So here's the thing about these lines. All of the lines that go to the same point on the horizon are parallel, which is to say that if I draw another line here, and it can go in any direction. I can just draw an arbitrary line, and if I then grab that line and I move it, if I grab that line and I move it so that it goes to that single point right there, this line here, okay, go back to the brush. I'll come down here to our notes where again, this line right here, that line parallel to this line. These two lines are parallel. They don't look parallel, but they are. It's just that this one is in perspective. which means if I make another line over here, if I just grab and say, yep, arbitrary line in an arbitrary direction, and I grab that with the object tool, I grab the line, the object tool, and I grab the line with the object tool, and I drag that over so it goes to that measuring point right there. I pointed at that measuring point. Now, okay, come back to my brush. And these two lines here are parallel. You know, let's do a slightly different color. Let's come over here to our sketch. We'll go these two lines right here. These lines are parallel. So these lines are parallel here. And because these lines are parallel here, and these lines are parallel up here, okay? Because these two lines are parallel, okay? Turn off my snapping. Because these two lines are parallel, okay? We know that this line and this line are the same length because this line and this line are the same length. You can see that. We come over here to the construction line so that we can kind of put that in place. That line is the same as this line. When you go from the station point to the measuring point right there, or the single point perspective to your measuring point, and you go from the station point to that perspective line right there, these are the same length. You have an isosceles triangle. If I switch over to rotate and I turn it, you can see that those two sides are the same length. Now, because those are parallel, because this line is parallel here, this line is a different length, okay? But because this line here is parallel to this line here, again, because this line and this line are parallel, I'm going to turn off the snapping and circle here. Because this line and this line are parallel, we know that because those two are parallel, these lines are proportional. You have a parallel line here, you have a parallel line here. These two lines are parallel, and that means that they meet at the same angle. The spot where this line meets this line is the exact same angle as where this line meets this line. That's basic geometry. And that means that this line and this line are meeting at the same angle as this line and this line. And this line and this line are meeting at the exact same angle as this line and this line, because these lines are parallel and these lines are parallel. And this line is obviously parallel to itself. Now, if you then take out another line that's parallel to that same line there, you know that because these lines are parallel, this line coming down right here, and let's pull that down a little more just to make it a little bit more obvious, okay? When we pull that down all the way there, because of your alternating interior angles right here, because of your alternating interior angles, this angle and this angle, that layer, we want to be on this one. This angle here and this angle here are the same angle in perspective, okay? And because this line is parallel to this line, and this line is parallel to this line, we know that it's the same angle that these two meet at. So that's the same angle, that's the same angle, and that's the same angle. And if that's the same angle, then this right here, let me turn off this right here, that's the same angle we have over here. This is the same angle we have over here. It's just the way angles work. And because that's just the way angles work, we know that we still have an isosceles triangle, okay? Which means this side is the same length as this side, okay? So that piece there is the same length as that piece there. And from your measuring point, you can measure that line against that line in perspective because they're parallel. I still don't think I've done a very good job explaining this. But to just kind of cover that again, you know, by pulling this down below that angle, we know what this angle is. It's the exact same as this angle because this is parallel to this and this is parallel to this. So these two lines must meet at the same angle. Which means because these two lines meet at the same angle, okay? These two lines and these two lines are also meeting at the same angle here. And if we pull this if we pull this guideline down, the opposite interior angle right here, that's the same angle. And over here on the opposite side here, that's a known angle. And when we trace that farther down, you see here it crosses this parallel line at the exact same angle. This line crosses that parallel line. Because this line is parallel and that line is parallel, it crosses the lines at the same angle. Same thing with this one over here. This line comes down here, and when it comes down here, it's coming down. We know this angle. When it comes down and crosses this parallel line, that's the same angle, and the opposite angle has got to be the same. So we know all three angles of this triangle. And if we know all three angles, we know that it's congruent with all other triangles that have those same three angles, which means the proportions of all of the different sides are the same. And because the proportions are the same, if two of the sides were the same length at the other size, they're also going to be the same length at this size, which means this side and this side are going to be the same length. That's crossing at a 45-degree angle. That's a 45-degree angle, that's a 45-degree angle. And because those are 45-degree angles, because what we end up with here is a parallel line, because those are crossing at 45-degree angles, we know these are the same length. So if we're trying to find out what length this line is, we just compare it to that line. And if we're trying to measure, we can just put our measuring line right here directly horizontal, parallel to the horizon. We can put a line of whatever length we want that to be, and we can draw that line in perspective by coming from here to the measuring point. You can do it in either direction. You can either measure a line you have already drawn, or you can apply a measurement to a line that you haven't drawn yet. And that's my effort to do a better job of explaining, which I don't know. I don't know whether I did a better job explaining or not. But yeah, I'm doing what I can here to try and improve that shit show of a performance I gave last week. Hold on, I need to blow my nose. Okay. So anyway, that's the big thing. And the other thing that I've been working with, and this gets funky, okay? And I'm not sure if I can explain this very well at all. But here's the thing. From your measuring point right here, the angle at the measuring point is also exact. So you can measure up like this. You measure up like this to a point exactly above your vanishing point, and you can get a known angle for drawing things that have angled tops. Like we've talked about how to draw cubes from the side, but what do you do if your cube isn't, strictly speaking, a cube? What if it has an angled top like this? How do you find your vanishing point for that? And the way you do that is by using your measuring point to locate an auxiliary horizon line that comes in there, and then from that auxiliary horizon line, well, here again you can use your station point to identify a measuring point, and once again it's the same thing that you always do. You just kind of set up the angles correctly. And that was an off-the-cuff kind of thing, and I don't have a script prepared for that. Not that I prepare an actual script. I just kind of rehearse and go over, okay, yeah, I know what I'm going to talk about. It just kind of occurred to me, hey, this is a good point to talk about. You know, the angles at your measuring point are exact as well. But that really wasn't a good point to talk about that, because I wasn't prepared to talk about that. Making an idiot of myself. There that was. But you can come from that measuring point up to there. And then that'll tell you where your horizon line needs to be. And whatever that angle is, looks like it might be 35, I think. 35 degrees, somewhere around there. But you put that up there, and then and once you've identified that, you can also identify additional areas on this horizon line where other vanishing points would go. That's another thing that's kind of important. If you've got a come over here to my flat color. If you've got an object like this, and you put it in transform, and you go, okay, I want this object to, I want it to sit at this precise angle, like this, okay? If that's the angle you want it to be at, you know what? I'm not going to do it that way. If you have an odd shape, maybe is more of a pentagon than a box, and you were to take that and you were to go, okay, so I want to draw that shape in perspective, and I want to draw it from over here, okay? Now, what you're going to be able to see is, you're going to be able to see a side that goes off in this direction, okay? You're going to whack enter on that. We're going to come over here to our rulers. We're going to pull up the ruler tool, and we're going to scroll up. Wow. Okay. I'm going to come over here. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this angle right here. You're going to make yourself a linear ruler, and you're going to come up through the side of that. And you're going to come up to your horizon right here, okay? And come up to your horizon, and that's going to create your vanishing point for that. Now you're going to have the same sort of thing over here. You're going to come off to this side. You're going to have to draw that side in perspective, and you're going to set your vanishing point out there. And then you've got this bit right here, okay? Now, in order to get that bit, you're going to have to take your flat color layer where we put this, and we're going to go and move it so that we can get that angle right at the station point. And once we've got it at the station point, then we're going to draw the vanishing point for that. And those are your vanishing points for this particular object, okay? We're going to come back over here to our notes layer, and we're going to go, there's our vanishing point for one side. Don't want to. Vanishing point there, vanishing point there, and a vanishing point there. No, we can't actually draw the vanishing point there. Notes. Want to draw there, there, and a vanishing point there, which we can't actually, goes off to the side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we're going to go, okay, I know where the side of this is going to be, okay? And because I know where the side of it is going to be, I can now take this flat color and I can go and move it up to wherever I want it to go. And now that I've got it moved up to here, okay, we know that we're going to have this vertex is going to go here. But we're going to draw that vertex toward this vanishing point here. And we're going to draw this vertex toward that vanishing point all the way out there. And then we're going to draw that one right there, okay? Now this one is almost the same, this one is almost the same angle. So we can pretty much just start right there, but because we're drawing to that vanishing point there, we don't actually have to draw that, we can't see it. Which means we need to measure this. And we're going to need the measuring point for this vanishing point, and we're going to need the measuring point for this vanishing point. And to get those, what we do is we create a circular guide. So I'm going to grab a circular guide right here. Ruler, figure ruler. That's what, okay, yeah. So we want to use shift so we get a pure circle. And we want to pull it out until we reach the station point. And I screwed it up. Let me zoom out a little. Grab it right there, and we're going to pull it out. Make it a pure circle. Pull it out to the station point. There we go. And now that we've got that, come up here to our note layer. And we're going to go right there. This is our measuring point for that. Okay? So because that's our measuring point for this, what we want to do with this layer is we want to figure out how long that is, and we can take this particular piece and we can switch over to it. We can transform, and we can just rotate it until it's horizontal. Rotate it till it's horizontal. Place that where it belongs, right there. And then we can go from our measuring point that we just set up right there. And we go from this measuring point, and we're going to draw a linear ruler straight down that vertex. And where that crosses right there, that is where we want that side to end. So that side is going to be right. That side is going to be our nice black line right in there. Snap. Okay. We want that on the line art. And put it on the line art. Okay. That goes right there. There's the vertex right there. Now we're going to scroll out on this. Now we need the measuring point for this vanishing point here. And to get the measuring point for that one, again, we do the exact same thing. We use the figure ruler and we create a circle. We create a circle that goes down to the station point, like so. And then that gives us our measuring point. And our measuring point is up here on this layer. There. Take that off. Now, we're going to come down from our measuring point right here. We can do the same thing once again. Come over to our flat color, and we're going to rotate this until that side is flat. So the side we're measuring is horizontal, like so. Just like this. Okay. Then we're going to go from there. We're going to take a linear ruler again. Linear ruler. We're going to go from that vertex. We're going to go right up here, and we're going to go to the opposite measuring point there. And having gone to that opposite measuring point, we can now see where that line needs to end, right there. Having done that, we can now draw a line straight up, and another line straight up, and another line straight up. And what we can do here is we can draw all of these lines in perspective and get them going to the proper place. We get one there, and we get one coming over here, and then you've got the top of it. And if we just drew this a little bit taller, then you'll be able to see the top. But that's how you end up drawing these sorts of things. We need to know at this point. Yeah. But that's how you go about doing those angles in perspective, and putting the lines where they need to go and all that sort of shit. And I don't think I've done a very good job of explaining this because I haven't done a whole lot of thinking about perspective this week. I was busy working on other stuff. Like, among other things, fixing my chair. I got a steel clamp that I could put onto the gas cylinder on my chair and stop it from going all over the place. And it works pretty good. It really does. I do need to get a new chair, but this clamp works really good, and it has kept my chair in place, which is nice. I don't know. What else was I going to say? I don't think I was actually going to say anything. I think it was just kind of rambling at this point. Just talking about perspective. Talking about how this stuff fits together. One of these days, I'm going to be better at this. I'm going to be substantially better at it. And I'll be able to go, hey, let me show you how to do something. You'll go, oh, that makes sense. Now I can do that too. I don't know when that'll be. Honestly, I'm good at this stuff when I know what I'm doing. I'm I'm explaining stuff as I'm learning it, and that's not a place I'm typically at. I'm typically explaining stuff that I've been doing for years, and this is stuff that I've been doing for a couple of days. And even then, I mean, even the couple of days I was doing it, I only spent a couple hours on it. You know, it's very frustrating. Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff. There's a whole lot of bits and pieces that go into this. One of the things that I was working on over the course of the week was I got this book I've been working on, and I was going through it, and I was just kind of re-outlining the way it's going to proceed. Because what happened with this book was I started off. It was all from one character's perspective, and then I realized there's a place farther along in the story where I need to switch to someone else's perspective. I can't do that if the previous part of the story was all from one perspective. It would be jarring and confusing. So it needs to have switching perspectives all the way from the beginning, and I wasn't sure how to do that. But I came up with a way to do that, and once I came up with a way to do that, I kind of went through and I was story arc planning and all of this stuff, and it's a complex thing because it's one of those massive, gigantic fantasy epic stories, and because it's this kind of epic fantasy thing, it goes on and on and on, and everything plays into everything else, and you got to keep track of dates, and you got to pay attention to how old everyone is, and in what order things need to happen in. And there are all of these things like, okay, this guy needs to be this old before this event, and I'm going through and I'm saying, okay, here's what year this happens, and here's what year that happens, and then that impacts the month that things happen in. And you get this whole cascade thing. So it's like, well, you know, I've got them going through Nadric toward Bylestria in the spring, but the way I just had to reorganize stuff, they're going to have to be in Bylestria in the spring, which means they're going through Nadric in the winter. And given the climate of Nadric, that's going to be a very different journey, and that's also going to take longer. So I need to back up all kinds of stuff. There's going to be snow, and the roads are going to be hard to see, and there's going to be various inclement weather and windstorms, and they're going to have to find new shelter, and that's going to be interesting in and of itself. That's going to add more stuff to the story, and that's great. But now that means everything prior to that point in the story needs to be shuffled back so that it happens earlier in the year. And you get all kinds of things like that. And you have these ripple and cascade effects that go on. And if you have, say, 80 pages already written, and suddenly this entire section of the book is taking place in a different season, that's kind of a mess. And this is fascinating. I was doing research on medieval travel and whatnot, and what I found was that your average person that is walking can cover about 10 miles a day. Just 10 miles. That's not a lot. That's not a lot at all. And I was looking at that and I was like, well, how much faster could they go on horseback? You can't go faster on horseback. Talking about the kind of things that you're working with, what we're used to in the modern world is we're used to walking on sidewalks. We're used to walking on paths and driving on streets. And we're used to having things that go like 60 miles an hour. A horse goes about 9 kilometers an hour, which is just short of 5 miles an hour. But horses also need to eat, they need water, they need rest, there's all kinds of things that you need to take into account. And what it comes down to is, even if all you're doing in a given day is traveling, you could only go about 10 miles on horseback or on foot. And then I was like, well, geez, what if we took a boat? So it turns out boats travel about 10 miles a day. And I'm like, everything is the same speed. It's so counterintuitive. It's not the kind of thing that you would expect it to be. But then you look at it and they're like, you have to think about the winds, and you have to think about the currents, and you have to think about whether people are going to row, and you put all of that together. And it's just like, fuck, it really is just like, no matter what you do, it's 10 miles a day. It's 10 miles a day on a riding horse. It's 10 miles away on a horse-drawn wagon. It's 10 miles a day on an ox-drawn cart. It's 10 miles a day if you walk. It's 10 miles a day if you take a boat. Everything's just 10 miles a day. And the only question is just like, it's the route you take. And it's your layovers in between legs of the journey. And I was looking at that and I was just kind of shaking my head and going, that makes so little sense when you think about it from a high-level perspective. But then when you actually dig into it and you go, well, why? Why can you travel only this far per day on a horse? Well, because of this. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then there's the additional thing to consider, which is horses in the Middle Ages were not used to travel far. They were used to travel fast. You could get that 10 miles pretty quickly on a horse. You could travel that 10 miles in a lot less time. But your horse is knackered and you need to put him away for the day. You're not doing any more travel. You're only doing your 10 miles, but most of the day you're just fucking off because the horse needs its various care. It's because it's a human. That's because it's an animal. It's because it has needs. I almost said it's because it's a human being. I mean, it has rights and it has requirements and all of that stuff. But yeah, that's kind of something I was looking at and I was going, it makes no sense. And I was going over the map and I was like, well, this map, see, it seems like it takes longer to cross this map than I would have expected. And I'm like, this isn't supposed to be some huge map, but sorry, a sneeze snuck up on me. But I was looking at the map and I was like, no, this isn't supposed to be all that big. I mean, like this country's just supposed to be like the size of England. So I looked up the size of England. It's about 600 miles. And I measured the country on the map, and it's 600 miles. And what I've been doing actually is I've been measuring on the map using a centimeter ruler, and I've been kind of going, a centimeter is about 100 miles, which means a millimeter is about 10 miles, which means you can travel a millimeter in a day. And I'm looking at this map and I'm going, my God, these travel distances are so much longer than I thought they were going to be. It's almost ridiculous. I drew this map, incidentally. I drew this map in math class about 40 years ago, and I've been carrying that map around. That's the map from my Dungeons and Dragons campaign from like forever ago. And I had all of these adventures that were planned out for my adventuring group. And the problem is that you plan out these adventures and you go, okay, here's the grand plot that you guys are supposed to work with. And your players will find the most arbitrary, absurd shit to waste their time on instead. it's just it's mind blowing how ridiculously your players will waste time. And that's just such a pain in the butt. It's like you give them all of the clues to a mystery, and they're like, "Where's that bum going? We should follow him." He goes into a storm drain next to the harbor. Whoa, we'd better follow him. He's probably stashed something in there. He's a bum. He's looking for a place to sleep where it won't rain on him. That's all it is. But of course, your players are in there and they're like, oh, there's going to be something fun and adventurous in here. And you have to sigh mightily and put something adventurous in the fucking storm drain for your fucking players to find so they're not bored as shit the entire damn time. Oh God, that's a pain. And yeah, there was this whole storyline that they were supposed to get into because they got into Nelgar, and once they entered Nelgar and they went into the city of Greywind and they found out that wizardry is illegal in this town, they were like, "Ooh, we'd better leave." You're supposed to ask why. You're supposed to investigate and find out what's going on, and it's illegal for wizards to even exist in this town. Ooh, bye. All that work, all that effort. It is ridiculous when you play RPGs. You get stuff set up, and people just never look into it. They never find out. I had this whole secret police, and there was like a secret society operating throughout 3 separate countries, and at no point in over 10 years of running my Dungeons and Dragons campaign with the same group, at no point did anybody show the slightest interest in what the church was doing or why the church needs this elite squad of soldiers. Nobody fucking cared. They're just, wow, that really? You're just gonna walk right by that? Oh, we're looking for a place to buy grappling hooks. How many grappling hooks do you need? Well, I had this idea. Players are full of ideas. Players have 8 million ideas, and like 90% of them are just fucking retarded. Oh, God. I have PTSD from running D&D games for so long. I really do. God. Anyway, but yeah, oh, holy shit. It's been like 48 minutes. Wow. This has actually been a decently sizable stream. So I don't know. I don't know if anything I said about Perspective Tonight has been helpful. I'll try to be more helpful next week. I don't know if I'll even be as helpful as I was this week, next week. I will try to arrange something. I really will, like, make an effort to actually prepare something that's worth talking about. Instead of just, like, rambling and off about shit. Anyway, yeah. My sinuses are killing me. I have to blow my nose every 30 seconds at this point. So I gotta get off of here. Anyway, y'all know the deal. You know, do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, hit the little bell icon, make YouTube happy. I will work harder this week and do a better job next week. That's really all you can do, you know, is work a little harder and do a little better. And I'm gonna keep working on that zombie I was drawing. See what I can do with that. A completely worthless illustration that I don't need to do anything with. feel like there's a bunch of stuff I should have explained and didn't. And I don't know why I didn't explain it. But that doesn't matter. Anyway, that's the stream. Okay, bye.